Hi Alice, good to have you.
Hello, lovely to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm going to do a dance of being back here after a month of a break, and I'm so excited that you are opening the conversation this month when it comes to celebrating human like you who have been creating mini humans that are part of your life now. So, yeah, we are on for an exciting topic. For anyone who's just joining us, get settled, grab whatever it is that you need in terms of water, food, whatever it is. Make sure that you say hi in the chat. Drop any questions that you have. I've got loads of things that I need to ask you, but obviously, feel free to send yours across as well. And for anyone who hasn't met you yet, I'm going to give the floor back to you, Alice, so you can share a few words.
Cool. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon, or you're watching on demand, in which case, hello to wherever you are at whatever time in the future. Hi, my name is Alice Clare, and I am a mother. And I am also an entrepreneur. So I run a training company called Badass Unicorn. So we're all about helping people to unleash their inner badassery, which is all around figuring out your strengths, your values, your career vision, thinking about your mindset, how you deal with change and challenge and all of that good stuff. And I've been running the business now for about my third birthday full time. So that feels like that feels pretty cool to be 3 years on from the beginning now, or from the full-time beginning. It started a little bit earlier on than 3 years ago.
Oh, happy anniversary. You survived the pandemic. You survived what happened, recession. You survived so many different things. So well done.
Well, I started I went full-time on my business literally at the peak of COVID wave one.
Wow.
I got faced with risk of redundancy, which I think a lot of people had challenging stuff going on work-wise at that time. And that really was the impetus to say, okay, you know what, I've got a bit of redundancy money behind me. Let's see if I can turn the, £6,000 that I've earned from my side hustle into like a proper thing, that pays me money every month and, means that I can live. And 3 years later, I'm still living off of my own back, which is cool.
That is awesome. Very excited. Thank you for sharing that journey as well. I hear you because, when I started mine, just before that, I had Brexit and then the pandemic and then the rest. Yes, I hear you. But I feel like, for anyone listening in, and this is not what we need to discuss, we need to talk about the motherload juggle. But anyone listening in, I don't think, and you'll tell me your thoughts, there is never like a great time with all of the green lights. At some point, you just have to make a decision to go for it, whatever that is for you.
Absolutely. But I think that's true of mothers. That's true of non-mothers. It's true of everybody. The only certainty in life is change, right? We're always just one phone call away from life-changing news. Even if you don't run your own business, you never know about a restructure or a bad boss or a change in direction of a company. So I think all of us are constantly trying to kind of make those decisions with the best information that we have at the time. And there's no perfect decision and there's no perfect route forward. As Sheryl Sandberg talks about, plan A is not an option. There's no longer an option. We've time to kick the shit out of option B, whatever that might be for you, with all the imperfect uncertainties that lay before us.
I love what you said. The only certainty in life is change. I've just quoted you on that, so I'll make sure I'll quote you back. But yeah. I hear that. So let's dive into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah.
I'm just going to open it up, and obviously no restrictions there, but I'm curious to know what's the best thing you would say that has happened to you career-wise. And obviously we know you run your own business, so it could be, whatever. What's the best thing that you say has happened to you career-wise? Also becoming a parent. Going to try to put it together.
I loved that question because a lot of the time we talk about how hard it is and all the cliches, and actually to think about the positive and the good is I think a nice way to open. I think one of the first things to say is that I started my business before I had a child, and I think for me as part of my journey that made it a lot easier. And I don't know if I'd have quite the guts with that heavy weight of responsibility if I had a child to do it, or if I did have the guts. I think it's like 10 times more brave and courageous to do it once you have a child. So I'm really grateful that my set of circumstances meant that I was able to start my business before. Of course, it meant that I didn't get any maternity leave. I'd always worked for companies where maybe I would get 6 months full pay to go and do my baby. But for me, I was faced with £150 a week from the government, because that's what your statutory maternity allowance is. But anyway, we're talking about the good things. I think for me, the biggest and most positive way in which it's affected my career is my career has really given me a creative outlet, and it's become even more a part of my identity than it was before, because my experience of becoming a mother it's so all consuming, and it takes up so much of your mental energy and your time and all the rest of it. And actually work became a space where I could be me that wasn't a mother. And what's great about my situation is that I can integrate my daughter in my work in some ways. I talk a lot about parenthood and motherhood, and I'm able to just be really open about that experience. I've used her as examples in some of my exercises sometimes, that kind of thing. But I found the early months of motherhood really, really challenging, like borderline postnatal depression. Was seen by a psychiatrist, and it was actually going back to work that really helped me, because I thought I was going to be the type of mother that would be like kumbaya and zen and just like so au fait and happy with everything. And I actually found it much trickier than I thought. And that escapism from work, for want of a better word, even I went back to work after 4 months, not full time, but a couple of hours
I was
a day.
about to ask, how long did you take? So okay.
I took 4 months full. I took 5 months off because my daughter was a bit late. Delightful. And then I took 4 months off full time, and then I went back to work very slowly. So 1 week my mum would take her for like 2 hours a week, and I was lucky my mum was around at that time, and they'd go out for a walk, and maybe I'd have a shower, and maybe I'd check my emails, or maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I'd just clean up after all the chaos. But then slowly built up, and honestly that space to be me, to reconnect with myself, with my strengths, with my work that has become such a part of who I am, it really helped me to tune back into that and feel less overwhelmed by motherhood. So yeah, I think that's probably the biggest way. It also puts life into perspective. If your kid is happy and healthy and thriving, how bad can it be? You lose a piece of business, or you don't get the best feedback from one of the workshops you've done. So I think it definitely helps with that. And I'm really lucky that I have a lot of flexibility with my work. So when your kid gets chicken pox and you're struggling to try and keep it all afloat, it was good to be able to just do what I needed to do and not have to apologize to anybody. I work from home primarily, so that makes the juggle more manageable. I don't know how anyone does it who's commuting into the city and back. And some of my friends, they don't see their kid after they drop them off from nursery during the week, or they don't even see them like at all. They see them in the morning before they leave at 7 o'clock, and they come home at 7 at night, and they don't get to see their kids. And luckily for me, my situation means that doesn't happen very often. So yeah, those are some of the positives.
I love it. I'm curious to know then, because I think you've mentioned obviously 3 years anniversary in your business. So how far were you in setting up your business when you had your kids?
So I would say Badass Unicorn didn't start as a business. It started off as me doing speaking gigs and really enjoying myself, and starting to share on LinkedIn, and starting to write a blog, and just play a more active role in this space that I was really interested in. And that probably went on for about a year of just really exploring, doing everything for free. And then slowly I started, charging for a few things, pitching work to clients, building the most ugly looking sales deck ever. Now I look back on it, but, just trying to make this thing pay a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was probably another year. So that was about 2 years. And then I pivoted to a learning and development role at Deliveroo. I'd been working in the marketing team up until that point, but realized that this learning and developing people was really where my soul got lit on fire, And it was whilst in that L&D role, I'd been in role about 5 months, that I got put at risk of redundancy. And then a year later, I had my daughter.
Right. Okay.
So I had a year of running it full time without
Yes.
a mini human.
Got it. Okay. And I love what you said about the fact that it's really unleashing your creativity as well. I'm curious to have your take on the whole like work-life balance, because obviously I'm not a mother myself, but I talk a lot about that with my clients who are for some of them mothers. And I don't believe there is such thing as like a silo work life. But you'll tell me your thoughts on it. Like, have you managed to find, I would say, sanity in equilibrium, if I can put it this way, between work and life? How is that working?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think this is the perennial struggle for any working parent, is trying to get that balance right. And sometimes you feel like you're balancing quite well, but whenever you're balancing, it always feels super precarious, right? As soon as your childcare crutch gets taken away, or there's sickness for you or your partner, or, work really blows up, it's so easy for things to get sort of like out of kilter and feel really difficult. So no, I haven't perfected it by no means. And, kudos to anybody that thinks they've mastered it, but I feel like most of us are always kind of walking the tightrope. So yeah, no, I think that's a struggle that we're all dealing with, whether or not you're a parent or you're not a parent, wherever you are. I was just reflecting on this today. I think the demands of life are huge. And I say this as one of the lucky ones, and a lot of people who would listen to this are perhaps in that camp, right? And yet life just feels really bloody hard to do all of the things that you need to do. And I think that in my case, and I think most cases that I've spoken to, when you become a parent, that struggle just becomes more intense because the demands are greater and the amount of time that you have stays the same.
Yeah, true. And I think this is nicely opening to, let's say, the other side, if I can put it this way. If I were to ask you, what would you say have been the top sort of challenges that you've faced in your career whilst obviously being a mother? What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about work-life balance. I call it the the career motherload juggle.
Which is today's title, yes.
Which is exactly today's title. And you do just have less time and more demands. And suddenly there is something that is more important than any of it, which is both the most glorious thing and the most laborious thing. It's the highest highs, the lowest lows. You feel intensity of emotion that I experienced before I became a parent, but I feel like life is in Technicolor now. But the blues are bluer and the reds are redder and the yellows are yellower. And this thing is changing multiple times a minute. There's nothing quite like the feeling of, like yesterday. Well, I had a childcare mess up, so I ended up having my daughter in the afternoon, and we had a sleep together, and she lay on my chest. And there's no feeling like having your daughter sleep on your chest and feel the warmth and the connection, right? It's like the biggest joy. But then half an hour later, she's tantruming because I've taken something off her. She spilt water everywhere. She's drawn on the walls. And you're like so enraged and losing your temper. So, it's the best of times and the worst of times, really it is, in my experience anyway. So it's hard, and that it's relentless. It's very demanding, and it's not something that you can stop very easily. You might go away for a weekend, right? Oh my gosh, somebody has given you the gift of 48 hours without your baby, right? But that's it. And then it's back to you're up. It's whatever the baby wakes up, you're up. My baby started screaming this morning at 4:30. She went back to, you know what I mean? Like, it starts at whatever time they want to get up. And when they then put them to bed, then you've got to clean up after them. And then you've got to do so you feel guilty for saying it, because you know that there are a lot of people who want to become parents and aren't able to, but it doesn't mean that it's not really, really hard. The constancy of it and the amount that it asks of you is a lot.
Yeah. And that's exactly why I'm so grateful that you came on and shared your story. And I'm doing an entire month of May having those conversations, because whilst nowadays obviously everything is available online and we talk about these things a little bit more, I don't think we talk enough about the impact it does have in the sense of your mindset, your mental health, especially in the context of having a career, right? Because I think there are still some people who are in the view that you essentially can't have both. And I've got a theory, and I'm not a mother, so obviously I'll see if I disprove my theory or not, but got a theory that you are allowed to thrive professionally and also be a mother, But I think, like you said, it's just a matter of embracing uncertainty. It's embracing the fact that it's not going to be a robust model of like that amount of time this way, da 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 da. I mean, I don't know your perspective on it, but has your vision, for example, for your company, for Badass Unicorn, changed, since you've become a mother?
Yeah, no, it has. On the having it all, I wrote in a post a few months ago, the only way you can have it all is by accepting that you can't. And, it that may sound a bit defeatist, but I think it's reality. And if you want to work 60 hours a week and have your kid be looked after by a nanny and, not do school pickup, that's cool. I'm not judging you. And that's a certain way. And then there's other people that want to do full-time childcare, and that's absolutely cool too. And then everybody else, we're all trying to find our rhythm. I think one of the most frustrating things I found about having a kid and a business is you just don't have the same freedom with your business as you did before. Parenthood is really exhausting, and I'm not one of those people that can like work every night catching up on emails and like, I need to switch off now more so than ever. And it just means that you kind of can get less done. And in terms of my aspirations, I think they have changed. I think I've become more self-aware as an individual, as an entrepreneur. I think before, I wanted size and number of employees, and I thought that was kind of the path that I wanted to take. And actually, in the past few years, I think I don't want to say my aspirations have waned, because again, that sounds defeatist. I think I am happier with less, because less I know is still huge and wonderful and amazing. And as part of the richness of life, maybe I will earn a bit less money because I will have less time. But I do school pickup twice a week, and I get to see my friends, and I'm having a drink with this person. Do you know what I mean? So the tapestry is there and the richness is there. It might mean that my business is slightly less bells and whistles and, breaking records. But is that kind of okay with me? I think as I'm almost getting closer to actualizing my North Star, so to speak, it comes closer, which has been a really nice realization as part of that sort of process.
I feel like it's one of those that obviously I'm thinking about, having my own family later down the line. We talk about that, but I feel like because you've been on both sides, I'm curious to have your views. It's one of those where you might have like the theory and the wish list as to how you'd like things to look like, and then there is the reality hitting in terms of, the personality of your kid and things like that, and you just basically can't anticipate anything until it's there.
No, you can't. You really can't. And actually, I think one of the key learnings for me through this whole process is you don't know what type of mother you're going to be. Like I said, I thought I was going to be kind of kumbaya and so earth mother about the whole thing, which was really naive, actually, because that's not, I have elements of that. I'm a bit spiritual, perhaps a bit woo-woo, some people might say. A bit of a hippie in some respects, but actually I'm quite neurotic and highly strung and anxious as a person. So why would I be a different mother than I was human being? And I expected, I don't want to say the word for more fulfillment from my child, because that's not fair, but I thought I would feel more fulfilled from just spending time with her than I did. And what I found was that I needed fulfillment in other areas of my work, like my career, that almost had a compounding fulfillment impact on my time with my daughter, because my cup was fuller. So I found that time more enjoyable.
Yeah, that would make sense. And I think this is nicely leaning into the other part of what I was keen to cover with you. For anyone who's listening this with us right now or as a replay, what would you say have been your key learnings along the way that you want to share?
Yeah, I love this question. Look, my key learning is you want to do this if you can, if at all possible, with the right person. So before I married my husband, the relationship that I was in before, he was a wonderful man. there was nothing wrong with him, but we were not right for each other. And, you know, there were points where I was waiting for him to propose to me, right? And I'm thinking, where the hell is the ring? And fortunately, things didn't work out between us. And I think now, God, if we'd had children together, we were already on sort of like rocky ground. It's quite a fiery relationship. Our personality types didn't really blend that well. There was a lot of walking on eggshells with each other. And I think, oh my God, if we'd had children together, it would have been a nightmare, because my husband and I are super compatible. We met a bit later on in life. It was a bit of a whirlwind romance, but because we were so sure that this was the right person, and I have no doubt about that. And it's still really hard. You still snap at each other. You still wake up in the night being like, "It's your turn, you go." You know, you still have tensions and arguments. So you want to be really solid with whoever you're going into this with, if you have a choice, because it's a roller coaster, and you want a strong, you know, partner with you on it.
For the ride, yeah.
And look, so much respect for any parents that are doing it on their own, because I honestly don't know how you cope. I mean, it's hard work. It's really it's hard work. So yeah, that would be my number one learning, is if you have a choice, do it with the right person or the right support network around you. What were my other lessons? I think this is such a cliche one, but you have to be kind to yourself. We spend so much time giving ourselves a hard time about, oh gosh, another microwave dinner, or putting Peppa Pig on again, or you know, whatever, insert crap mother, crap parent activity. These are happening multiple times a day, and I think sometimes you just need to say it's okay to cancel the swimming lesson, or not go to that party, or we're not going to make a cake this afternoon. We're just going to survive. That's okay. And my last sort of learning would be that, and then it's another one that applies to all of us, and it's a bit of a cliche, but I feel it to be true, is self-care isn't selfish. It's funny, I'm still friends with a lot of the mums that I did a kind of baby group with. It was called NCT, and we're one of the few couples that actually like takes the weekends away. And I know that different people have different situations with family offering to help and things like that. But from what I understand, I think quite a few families do offer to help, but it's that parents don't really take them up on it. You know, they might say, oh, look, I'd be happy to look after them. And they're like, oh, thanks. And then they think they don't mean it, or they won't be able to cope or whatever. So they don't actually ask for the favor. Whereas I'll be like, okay, mum, great. What dates? Okay, I'm booking something. And those times to get away and not be a parent and just be Alice, and, you know, relax and not have the motherload whirring in the background as much. Those are really important. They fill up your cup so that you can come back and give more and do more and be more present and all of those things. So yeah, I'd say those are the top learnings for me.
I love it. That's really priceless. And I feel like obviously it's one of those that is 100% applicable if you're a mother, but it's even applicable to an extent. Like what you said, they were like, oh yeah, I should probably do more self-care. Like even me not being a mother, I'm like, yes, let's do some of it. So thank you. Because yeah, it's a journey.
I think a lot of people, we serve way more than we self, right? And we're always giving. A lot of us will be the people that are constantly, you know, offering help and support and being there for others. And in order to do that, we have to pour from a full cup. So whatever that is for you. So I was doing a workshop last week, and someone talked about a flotation device where you literally like get in this contraption, like float in silence like this. You know, I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. Or a massage, or doing your nails, or going for a walk with a podcast. You know, we've got a myriad of kind of mental health first aid, and it doesn't just have to be mental health, self-care strategies, whatever you want to call them, and we need to employ them.
We do. Absolutely, we do. Conscious of time flies when you're having fun. So we've got 5 more minutes to go. I was keen to open it. I mean, obviously your lessons learned already nicely fed into recommendations on their own, but are there any other recommendations that you'd like to share for any working mother out there who's like, oh my God, am I holding this together? How am I doing this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is for working parents, but also people thinking about, okay, how the hell am I going to cope with this huge, crazy, life-changing event? I think one of the thing that has helped me most of all is having really good childcare. And we know that there's a childcare crisis in the UK, right? It's so expensive and blah 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 blah. It's impossible. You don't know how people manage. But we found a wonderful childminder. She lives 2 doors down the road from us, which, knowing that you're leaving your child with somebody brilliant who loves them, who cares for them, who's helping them to grow and helping, really, really looking after them, it makes you feel a hell of a lot less guilty when you drop them off. I mean, I'm so lucky. My daughter, I don't think I've ever had one of those times where I left her at the door and she was like screaming, or, maybe once a little bit, but that's because she has been so happy with the childcare that she's had. So, yeah, 100% find a great workable childcare solution for you that means that you are not so worried about the times when you're away from your kid that is like somehow detrimental. Again, I think this tip could apply to anybody, but I think as going through becoming a mum, having a network of mummy friends sounds a bit naff, doesn't it? But I met
but the support network is a real thing, right?
CT, but it could be from your local, baby sensory class, or your neighbour or whoever, and having women, in my case, that were going through the same thing at the same time, that was up doing night feeds at the same time as you. Or I remember this one time being in John Lewis's baby changing facilities, baby feeding facilities, and Fee had just cried and cried and cried, and I was crying in there, not knowing what to do, feeling so embarrassed. I'm here, my baby's screaming, I can't get her to stop, and I just hid in there and messaged in the group, and just this tirade of support, it's okay, you've got this, babe, just do this. You need that sometimes. So yeah, that support network is invaluable. And I think the last thing, and quite a nice one to end with, really, is inspired by the School of Life. I don't know if you know that organization, but his name has just escaped me now. The guy who runs it, he basically talks about being a good enough parent. And I think we're all just striving for perfection so much of the time, but it's okay to not be perfect. Good enough is good enough. And so what that today you didn't take her out to the park, or that she had a yellow dinner, or she ate too many chocolates, overall, net, are you doing a good job? Are you giving everything? Are you trying your bloody best? Yeah. And accepting that that's enough is my last and probably most important of the. Actually, no, the childcare one is probably even more important than that one.
They're all important, but we finished on that, which is perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here's to all of that and all of those priceless advice that you've shared, Alice.
Thank you.
Again, not a mother myself, but I feel like some of them I'm going to take them away from me, because yeah, the striving for perfection is definitely something that a lot of us struggle, mother or not, but I can only imagine what it would be for motherhood. So thank you so much for your valuable advice and time, Alice. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.